So you're bravely refusing to fight a swordsman half your age.
Hey you geeks! Going into Stormlight 5, Wind and Truth, the Duel of the Champions of Odium and Honor seems to be the most anticipated and dreaded event of the series thus far.
In 3 days we're gonna have a war! A battle between good and evil, to the death!
Despite avoiding this topic like the 99th plague, my thoughts have been circling and evolving on this topic. Based on a poll I put up on YouTube, it seems like most of you agree with my original primary theory, though not a supermajority, and I'm willing to believe that me posting this poll meant that the answer pool was skewed. So in the name of trying to understand others, let's go through together what the ground rules are to be the winner of the Duel of the Champions, and my odds on who Odium will choose as his champion. Spoilers through Rhythm of War, and though nothing will reveal what's been posted in the preview chapters, this will not contradict them. Ground rules. Final terms are these: a contest of champions, to the death, on the 10th day of the month of Pala, 10th hour. We each send a willing champion allowed to meet at the top of Urithiru, otherwise unharmed by either side's forces. Based on location alone, I think this rules out L, the fused with no title, though he is clearly set up to be the next big secondary antagonist.
The only rules that really matter are these: what a man can do and what a man can't do.
Urithiru itself repels fused, and though some of you have admirably argued in the comments, thank you by the way, that this clause would mean that Team Honor would have to lower Urithiru's defenses, I would argue, based on their treatment of Leshwi and co., that unconscious does mean unharmed. Besides, I think that L's writings indicate that he is much more interested in leading a battle as a commander than fighting a duel. So I see him attacking the war camps as has been foreshadowed since the Way of Kings. A population where he could find many humans willing to join his legion. The other main premise of the rules is that the champion must be willing. Now there's a loophole to drive a truck through. Thus far, Odium's possession of humans and singers has always involved somewhat of their own volition, though possibly misinformed, as Venli herself notes. Venli had witnessed the transformation. She'd nearly been taken herself. Accepting the soul of a fused into your body had an element of agency to it. Agency, however, was difficult to define. So let's examine the reasons a person may want to duel for Odium and who they would be. Revenge is the most conventional reason for why someone would want to be Odium's champion. And in fact, the person that Reyes probably had in mind when he made the pact with Dalinar was none other than F-Face himself. Since Reyes could no longer get Dalinar to betray his people or Kaladin to betray his oaths, it seems like the traitor who always does the fused dirty work by killing a king, then a god, then his friend, would be the obvious choice. Heck, with how F-Face negotiated with Raboniel, he could probably consider it an honor to kill Dalinar. We make this a covenant fused. I ruin Stormblessed, leave him unable to interfere, and you deliver me the queen. But while the vodka's good, the meat is rotten. Which is to say that while the spirit is willing, the flesh ain't up to the task. F-Face has just been blinded by Navani's light, and I put long odds on him being physically able to fight in any capacity in the next book. I have seen some suspect that this is setting him up to get new sight via the Inquisitor treatment. If so, that kind of takes the fun out of it, don't you think?
Nobody expects the Spanish Inquisition!
More importantly, if Stormlight can't heal him, then I don't think any investiture could. It goes to his cognitive aspect. And if he could be granted Steel Sight, he'd still have only 10 days to learn how to see again and how to fight with this new sight against the greatest fighter Roshar has ever seen, who would give 0 storms about killing him.
I've no more to give. My fuse has just blown.
And that just doesn't seem like the sort of deep-hitting moral quandary Sanderson loves to tee up for his now suspecting readers. Rather, I think that the champion's motives must be more complex to really get this plot into gear. Leveling up in complexity, we have saving the world. This motivation I see as fitting very well for the insane heralds like Ishar or Nail into a position to become Odium's champion. Both are, of course, nuttier than a fruitcake currently.
Why, I'm cracked, you see. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut. I'm a nut.
They are both still religious figures across the continent of Roshar, and them choosing Odium over Honor's dead body would cause massive cultural upheaval, sympathy for Odium, and possibly resentment for Dalinar if he does manage to kill one of them. Not to mention, both have demonstrated that killing Dalinar, they believe, would save the world. Nail tried in Emul. Honor is dead, Dalinar said. And yet, Nail said, Honor still should prevent this. Prevent you. He looked Dalinar up and down. No shard blade. Fair enough. He launched forward, reaching for Dalinar. While Ishar has been more consistent in hating Dalinar and opposing his false radiance. Not to mention, Ishar has already tried to fight Dalinar in the very duel we are discussing. I prepared myself for your lies, champion of Odium, Ishar said. I had not realized they would be so reasonable. Yet you have already done too much to prove who you are, taking my holy city, but I have discovered your secrets. He held his hands as if to summon a blade. The time for the end is upon us. Let us begin the battle. Not to mention, Ishar is most similar to Dalinar in power set, so they could actually have what we would consider a duel and not a stomp fest either way. The two of them could actually pay homage to Tolkien's epic rap battle of fantasy between Finrod and Sauron in the Silmarillion, which is an utterly overlooked trope for far too long. Sauron chanted a song of wizardry, of piercing, opening, of treachery. Then sudden Felagund there swain, sang in answer a song of staying, resisting, battling against power, of secrets kept, strength like a tower, the prison opening, the chain that snaps. Backwards and forwards swayed their song. This epic rap battle of fantasy! Finrod, of course, loses like Dalinar would, inevitably. This duel, of course, didn't happen because Sword Mimi wanted to destroy some evil today. And then later Navani swore her own radiant ideals, granting Ishar a moment of sanity. This impending heraldic sanity, whenever a Radiant, especially a bondsmith, swears their own ideals, seems to be a great reason for Odium not to choose either of these guys. So Ishara as Odium's champion is still where I'm placing most of my bets, though I will acknowledge that there are others on Roshar who may believe that offing Dalinar is key to saving the world.
Even a good decision, if made for the wrong reasons, can be a wrong decision.
On the top of that category, I put Adolin, who, since Words of Radiance, has really been a front-runner as a potential champion for Odium or Honor, as he loves to duel, though he is not as honorable as he thinks Dalinar is, or rather, is not as honorable as Dalinar thinks he should be. And throughout Oathbringer and Rhythm of War, we see this tension as Adolin sees Roshar wanting to follow his father, but him knowing that Dalinar is still a flawed individual. My father can be wrong, you know. He's human, Adolin said. Half the city thinks he's some kind of herald reborn, but he's only a man. He's been wrong before. Terribly wrong. Despite these feelings of betrayal and anger towards his father, Adolin during Rhythm of War still indicates he's going to be ready to forgive him eventually. And killing him in 10 days' time seems a bit hasty for that, really. But Adolin is also beginning to feel worthless in this age of radiance and surge binders, and feels desperate to do whatever he can to save his country and his world. Which brings us to the final reason someone might choose to be Odium's champion. Sacrifice for the world. This justification I view as a necessary addition that Odium would choose a child or childlike champion, a theory that is very old, having its roots in the Way of Kings with a death rattle that is, as yet, unexplained. I hold the suckling child in my hands, a knife at his throat, and know that all who live wish me to let the blade slip, spill its blood upon the ground, over my hands, and with it gain us further breath to draw. But I had been hesitant to apply this to the Duel of the Champions, especially when Rhythm of War gave us a flash of Nail's history. Flash! Nail cradling a child in one arm, his blade out as dark forces crawled across a ridge nearby. Flash!
You cry, you want to cry, you cry, you want to. Go on, darling, cry!
Besides, I figured that this series is supposed to have 10 books, so not every death rattle was meant to be fulfilled in the front 5. So I dismissed this theory out of hand, until I realized that I had been assuming that Patton's first law of warfare would apply to the Duel of the Champions.
That no ever won war by dying for his country. He won it by making the other poor dumb die for his country.
Race would have totally applied Patton's logic here, but with Taravangian at the helm, we've got to be willing to flip our paradigm. What if Taravangian sought out a champion who would be willing to die to save Alethkar and return it to his people, but because of who they are, Dalinar would be unwilling to kill? Not to mention, this applies Hook's logic of defeating one's enemies by turning their children against him.
Imagine Pan's puss when he faces you and his kids standing beside you, ready to fight for the sleaziest sleaze of the 7 seas, Captain James Hook.
Unlike the Hunger Games, Odium can't unilaterally decide to rewrite the rules if his champion breaks them by refusing to kill Dalinar.
One of us has to die. They have to have their victor.
No. They don't.
as that would put Odium in Dalinar's power and give Dalinar possibly the ability to shatter him. So I think Odium would want a new champion that would be old enough to understand and keep their word. We have Gavinor, who does understand what Alethkar is, and isn't exactly on board with the whole team honor thing. "If I have a sword," Gav said, "nobody will be able to hurt me. I'll be able to find the man who killed my father, and I could kill him." Navani felt a chill unrelated to the cold air. On the one hand, it was a very Alethi thing to say. It would be perfectly and terribly ironic if Dalinar's insistence on bringing little Gav to the battlefront, in keeping with Alethi tradition, a tradition no doubt that killed Tien, is what empowered and emboldened Gavinor to feel like he could really make a sacrifice for his country. "Your father was very brave," Dalinar said, waving for the child to come and sit in his lap. "So very brave. He went almost alone to our home to try to save it." "To save me," Gav said softly. "He died because of me." Odium could totally sell this to little Gavinor that he would be fulfilling his father's quest to save their home country if all he had to do was die at his uncle's hands, but we're not really sure if the child, tormented by Voidspren set upon him by his mother, really understands Dalinar's love for him. But there's still that small problem of how a 5-year-old could kill Dalinar if Dalinar isn't willing to kill him. While musing on this and other things, I turned on some good old Scarlet Pimpernel.
David walked into the valley, a stone clutched in his hand. He was only a boy, but he knew someone must take a stand.
It then occurred to me that Tress, to get off the rock, used the same ploy, including the casks, as the Pimpernel did to get out of Paris. And it is truly a testament to Sanderson's writing prowess that I didn't realize this. So yes, I now fully expect some Pimpernel to be added as seasonings to Wind and Truth. And if we get a bonus biblical tie-in, why not throw it into the Duel of the Fates, as it were? The rocks are iconic for the Stormlight archive. A slingshot is not a light-eyed weapon, but Odium does have Gavinor's father's shard blade, which I'm sure he'd be willing to give the little lad. Rounding out our list of candidates as one whom Dalinar would view as a suckling babe, we have Renarin. This idea also came from the comment section, so thank you for making me think. I love it. Renarin has already shown himself to be perfectly willing to die if it would save the world. Yasna just didn't do it. Not to mention what he sees is manipulated by Odium. So Odium could very easily convince him that him offering himself up is necessary for Team Honor to win.
To see all the possible outcomes of the coming conflict.
How many did we win?
One.
Though I'm not sure that Renarin is dumb enough to fall for that ploy again.
There's always hope.
So, those are my expanded top choices of potential Odium's champion. Despite the meme, Shallan has other things to do in this book, I'm sorry. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments section down below. Thanks for watching. Bye!